Good morning, it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou. Live for you on LouTube on a Sunday morning. Good to see you. Where have y'all been? God, have y'all been hiding? What's going on? I think there's a lot of y'all out there that don't know about the top secret third channel. Anyway, up today, yes, I'm late on this news for obvious reasons. And to be honest, some of this stuff, I don't really know why people keep asking me about it. Because I have a feeling you know what my opinions are on it. You know what I'm going to say. So, Georgia in the transfer portal, we'll start there. Maybe be a long video, try to cover several things in this video that I missed over the last week. JT Daniels out at UGA. Stetson Bennett then announces he's staying. Now, in my opinion, JT knew Stetson was staying. That's why JT Daniels chose to enter the transfer portal. And just like any player that enters the transfer portal, whether it's a player entering the portal from Georgia to go somewhere else, or a player entering the portal somewhere else to come to Georgia, I don't care if players enter the portal. Well, let me take that back. I care, depending on the situation and the circumstance, but I don't get mad at these players for entering the portal. I don't. And I'll get into more, maybe, of the reasons why later on in this video. But we'll start with Stetson Bennett. He announces he's going to come back for his 12th or 13th year, whatever it is now, at UGA. He will be turning 25 in October, and he's going to come back and play one more year between hedges. One more year of football, which will be his last year of football. I'm not knocking Stetson Bennett. It's getting to my overall point. I don't blame him. And my opinions on how Kirby and UGA have handled the QB situation over the last 5 to 6 years is very well known and very well documented. With that being said, Stetson Bennett earned the right to make up his own mind. Period. Without any outside pressure or influence from me or Kirby Smart or anyone else for that matter. This guy was the quarterback of a national title winning team. How much he contributed to that, it was, the defense won it, the running game, all of that may be true. Some of it may be true. That's not the point. The point is he was the quarterback of the national title winning team. And if he decides he wants to come back, I support that. It doesn't mean I'm going to be dangling from his short and curlies for the next 8 or 9 months as we get up into next season. I treat every player the same. I'm going to continue to do that. If Stetson is the starter next year and he plays well, I will be the first and the loudest one on here to say that. If Stetson is the starter next year and he plays bad, I'll be the first and the loudest one on here to say that, too. My personal feelings aside, I feel like Stetson Bennett earned the right to make this decision for himself, and if the decision that he wanted to make was to come back for one more year, then, what can we say? I don't really think there's anything that anybody can say about that. He earned that right. So we lose JT Daniels. What does that mean for Georgia's quarterback situation overall? Well, so far, JT out. You got Stetson, you got Brock Vandagriff, you got Gunnar Stockton coming in, Carson Beck. I don't know about Carson Beck. We'll see. I feel like Carson Beck is now going to be the odd man out, but we'll see. I really, really like what I know about Gunnar Stockton, which I admit is a little bit limited. I'm not a recruiting guru. I'm not. But there are a few players every cycle that get talked about constantly. Zeus was one, the running back we got a few years ago, Zamir White. Injuries derailed his potential at UJ for the most part. Of course, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson. These were recruits that everyone knew. Not necessarily saying Gunnar Stockton is going to be in that league, but the amount of attention he gets is similar to some high-profile recruits that Georgia has either targeted or have been from the state of Georgia in the past. And he looks to be really, really good. Now, does that mean he's going to be starting quarterback this coming season at Georgia? My bet would be on no on that. But we'll see how he progresses. But I really like him. I still like Brock Vandagriff. And, Stetson, if nothing else, Stetson gives this team an experienced QB. Let's be real. Let's say JT Daniels would have left and Stetson announced he wasn't coming back. Well, then you got a situation where you don't have any quarterbacks on the roster who've ever started a game or really played any meaningful snaps at all. Brock and Carson have had a handful of snaps in the second half of blowouts this past season, but other than that, they haven't done anything. So then you'd probably be looking at like a transfer portal situation like we tried to do a few years ago, which got us JT Daniels to start with. So, it's not all bad with Stetson staying. Jermaine Burton leaving, though. Again, Jermaine Burton, I don't blame him for the decision that he made, but him leaving, to me, I don't like that at all from a Georgia fan perspective. I really like Jermaine Burton. He was our leading wide receiver. You don't see that all that often. A team's leading wide receiver on a national championship winning team decide to leave and go to the team that he beat to win the national title. But that's what we have with Jermaine Burton, headed out the door in Athens, west to Tuscaloosa, to join up with the Gumps and the Woe Ties, the Crimson Tide out there. I hate to lose Jermaine Burton. I've liked him since the day we got him. He, like I said, our leading wide receiver. Now, Brock Bowers had more yards receiving, but he was tight end. Jermaine Burton, our leading wide receiver last year. And, of course, you got the Georgia fans, some of them, the Disney dog. Oh, we don't need him. Every player Georgia has is the best player ever, Jermaine Burton included. Jermaine Burton was Jerry Rice a month ago. Today, he's garbage and we don't need him, according to some of these Disney dog fans. Okay, all right, okay. He's a really, really good player. Can you blame him? It's hard to blame him. The kid came to Georgia, right? Played his heart out for several years, won a national title, and now he's looking to get to the NFL. And let's be real. If you're a high school wide receiver or a college wide receiver looking to transfer, Alabama's at or near the top of your list. Has to be. Look at their track record over the last several years of putting wide receivers into the NFL. Elite. Look at their track record of throwing the ball. They throw the ball. Look at the quarterback they have coming back. Bryce Young, Heisman winner. Going to be the favorite to win the Heisman again next year. Everybody's already out in full force saying, oh, Bama's going to be even better next year. Maybe, probably. Well, we'll see about the run game, but Bryce Young clearly is going to be better. The offensive line's going to be better. The defense is going to be better. They got Will Anderson coming back. He's not going to Alabama because they're a national title contender. He's going to Alabama because they put 2 wide receivers a year into the NFL, and they've got a Heisman-winning quarterback coming back to throw the ball to him, and he knows Alabama's going to throw the ball 40 times a game, just twice as much as Georgia's going to throw it, especially if Stetson Bennett is quarterback again. I don't blame him at all. I don't blame him one bit. Is he as good as Devontae Smith, Waddle, Ruggs, Jamison Williams? I don't know, but he's going to be one of their best 2 or 3 wide receivers, which means he's going to get the ball thrown to him a ton. He's going to put up a ton of yards. I mentioned he was Georgia's leading wide receiver at 500 yards. 500. Every year Alabama's got 2 wide receivers over 1,000. So I don't blame him for leaving. Now, there's been some debate. Did he leave because Stetson announced he was returning? I think that was probably part of it, although I don't think that was all of it. I think it's possible Stetson could have announced he was leaving or retiring or whatever, and Jermaine still could have chose to transfer to Alabama. Why? Well, it's not like Stetson Bennett has been the first quarterback that Georgia has had under Kirby Smart, but go back and look. They all have been pretty much the same, and the game plan has been pretty much the same. Throw the ball 15 to 20 times a game, run it down lesser talented teams' throat for the majority of the game, and put a couple of wide receivers out on the edge to block DBs, hoping that a running back can break a 60 or 70-yard touchdown run instead of a 10 or a 15-yard first down run. The guy's been at Georgia for years. He's won a national title. He was our leading wide receiver last year with 500 yards. Now he wants to go to the NFL. He chose Alabama as what he thinks is a good route for him to get there. And it's hard to argue that. So I'm not mad at Jermaine Burton for transferring. I'm not mad that he chose. If he's going to transfer, Alabama, I don't know a better place to go. I don't. Than Alabama. They're losing their 2 top wide receivers from this last year, right? What's his name? Mechie and Jamison Williams, right? Where else are you going to go? Ohio State? They're loaded at wide receiver. I'm talking about insane talent. Oklahoma? Well, they got a defensive coordinator for a head coach now instead of Lincoln Riley. Maybe you go to Southern Cal. Well, you don't really know what's going on out there. Who's the quarterback out there? No one knows. But we'll get to Caleb Williams in a minute. So Stetson out, Jermaine Burton stays. We've had some other players that have transferred out, but those Stetson and Jermaine are the two players really that had decisions to make that were going to be the most impactful, both for next season and for like the domino effect of what else might happen in terms of transfers at UJ. Stetson staying, Nolan Smith staying is a pretty big deal. Kearis Jackson announced the other day he was going to stay. Now, he's one that I thought might leave too. There was three names that were floating around. If Stetson Bennett comes back, watch out for these three names. They could leave. One was Jermaine Burton, the other two, Kearis Jackson, and then Darnell Washington. There was a lot of smoke around Darnell Washington a couple of weeks ago. He took all his Georgia stuff off his social media and all that. It appears as though he's been talked into staying. Now, here's the thing. These players can go through spring practice and then transfer. So if Darnell, if Kearis Jackson, if anyone else on Georgia's team, or any other team for that matter, isn't happy with where they're at on the depth chart after the spring game, or the style of offense it appears that their team is going to be running after the spring game, they're free to transfer out at that time too. So we'll see. But as of right now, it appears Kearis and Darnell may be staying. We did lose a few other. Jalen Kimber to Florida. Jalen Kimber, a lot of potential, 4-star, very highly recruited, highly rated out of high school. I think he only played in one game for Georgia this year. Get on the field that much. It's a little surprised he transferred, considering we are losing Darion Kendrick on one side there at corner. You think maybe Jalen Kimber could slide in there, but for whatever reason, he decided to transfer. He goes to Florida. More on Florida in a minute, too. Them loudmouths down there. He joins up with Brenton Cox down there, another Georgia transfer who wound up at Florida. He'd been there a couple of years. Jalen Kimber, see what he can do down there this coming year. So, transfer portal season, comings and goings. Caleb Williams is the weirdest one to me. I don't really understand what's taking so long here. It seems to me he's, Oklahoma, Southern Cal would be just the logical choice. Half his team from Oklahoma has already transferred there. His head coach is there. They're getting all kinds of hype right now, Southern Cal is. Every media outlet, sports media outlet in America has posted millions of articles and videos about Southern Cal over the last few weeks. I don't really know what's taking Caleb Williams so long. Wisconsin now? I would be absolutely, I said nothing shocks me in football anymore. It seems like I'm saying that all the time, right after I'm shocked by something. If Caleb Williams ended up at Wisconsin, it would blow my mind. Think about the QBs that have been in Wisconsin in your lifetime. Russell Wilson is the only one that really could be considered any type of athletic QB. And, he transferred out to NC State for his last year or whatever. But, boy, you want to talk about Georgia's QBs being game managers and not throwing the ball all that much. Look at Wisconsin's quarterback. It would shock me. Now, Wisconsin's a good team. They play great defense, and they run the ball really good. They're sort of the Georgia of the North, a less talented version of Georgia in the Big Ten, Wisconsin. But it would absolutely shock me if that's where Caleb Williams ended up. But maybe he will. I don't know. I don't. We'll see. Have to keep our eyes peeled and our ears open. Man, still riding this high from. I'm a national title winning YouTuber. That feels good to say. That feels good to say. National title winning YouTuber. Let's see. Signing day coming up next week. Wow. We'll see what happens. One more thing on the transfer portal here as it relates to Georgia. There's a lot of Georgia fans running around. Now, here's the thing. A lot of Georgia fans are casual and talking about half the time. A lot of Georgia fans complaining, we keep losing all these people to the portal, but we're not getting anybody. Well, let me a couple of things here. The portal, look, Kirby, and not everybody knows, Kirby knows how to use the portal. Kirby knows how to use the portal. The portal, as I've been saying for years, is to fill holes, not build a roster. Not build a roster. As of right now, we don't even really know where the holes are. We still don't know who's coming and going. We still got another signing day to come up. So I'm not concerned about Georgia not bringing in any transfers. The other thing is, according to reports, and teams never release this information, so there's no way to ever really know for sure. But you can only have 85 scholarship players. Rumors are that right now Georgia's still over 90 if you count their incoming freshman class, which means we need 4, 5, 6 more players to transfer out if we want anybody to be able to transfer in. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but I did want to bring that up because there might be somebody in the comment section that asked that or that is wondering why. That could be why. If Georgia's over the 90 limit, they can't just run out and sign a bunch of transfers, right? If you're over 85, every person you bring in, you got to shove somebody out the door. So, who's that? Who would that person be? I don't know. So we'll see. Is it possible Caleb Williams ends up at Georgia? It's a slight possibility. I don't know what he's waiting on. My money's on Southern Cal. My money's on Southern Cal there. I'd love to have Caleb Williams. I think he's a great quarterback. I think, he's going to be a top 2, 3, 4 quarterback in America next year. I'd love to have him. I don't think he's coming to Georgia. And if he did, I'd have to question his sanity. To be honest with you, don't want any elite quarterback to come here or wide receiver for that matter. But anyway, so yeah, wanted to mention that on the portal. And that brings me back to Florida bragging about what a great job Billy Napier's doing. How? You're dead last in the SEC in recruiting. That's how you build a team and a program, is through recruiting. And I'm out here bragging about bringing in a handful of transfers. Look, that's great. And I hope Jalen Kimber ends up being a good player for you. I really do. Hope he plays great in every single game except the cocktail party. I don't have any problem with a kid transferring to Florida. I went over that at the beginning of the video. Kid decides he wants to be somewhere else. I believe it's his right to go there and play there if the other team will have him. So I have no issue with Jalen Kimber going there. My issue is you can't build a team through the portal. And Florida just doesn't have you need a base level foundation of talent. And then you need to pinpoint holes, and then you need to go to the portal and grab players to fill those holes. You can't look around and go, man, our team is terrible. We got no talent. Let's go get 15 people out of the transfer portal. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Not only that, it messes your numbers up years down the road. This is confusing, so I don't know if I think I've talked about this once or twice, so it's very confusing. But normally you sign a player out of high school, right? You get him for 5 or 6 years, depending on redshirt years and stuff like that, okay? Well, you sign a transfer that's already played for 2 or 3 seasons. You don't get him for that 5 or 6 years. You only get him for 2 or 3. So it counts against your scholarship numbers. But then instead of having to replace that player in 4, 5, or 6 years, you have to replace him in 2 or 3. So if you end up going a couple of years in a row, signing a bunch of transfers who only have 2 or 3 years of eligibility, what happens is you get to a point where you come up to a recruiting class where you can only sign 9 people, or 10 people, or 11 people. I'm not going to get into the math of that, but trust me, it happened to Kansas, is the most famous example. When Les Miles was hired there, like his first 3 years there, he couldn't sign more than like 16 kids or something like that because the previous administration had signed so many transfer kids that it messed up the numbers. Anyway, so I don't understand a Florida man running around with the bragging about how many players are signing out of the transfer portal. Look, yeah, good players are going to come out of the transfer portal, no doubt about it. But you cannot build a team that way. You can't. The NFL doesn't do this with free agency. You can't. Look, you can't build a team through free agency. You build a team in the NFL through the draft. You need 10 offensive linemen, 10 defensive linemen, 7 or 8 linebackers, 10 DBs, 10 wide receivers, 4 quarterbacks. You can't go get all that in free agency. You've got to build and develop that through the draft. And then at the end of the season, you look around and you go, okay, what were our 2 weakest points this year? DB and wide receiver. You say, okay. And you go into free agency and you get the best couple of DBs and the best couple of wide receivers. You can get whatever, and you go on about your day. Let's brag because we're dead last in the SEC in recruiting, but we've signed 3 transfers or whatever. This is insane. Insane. This Jack Miller from Ohio State. The guy's never completed a pass in college. Maybe it'd be good. I don't know. I don't know. Joe Burrow. Look, just because Joe Burrow came from Ohio State and won a national title at LSU doesn't mean Jack Miller's going to come down from Ohio State and win a national title at Florida. You know what LSU had in 2019 that Florida doesn't have now? A huge baseline level of talent. Check LSU's recruiting rankings to 4 years before they won that national title. And then check Florida's recruiting ratings the last 4 years. You people will be lucky to finish ahead of Kentucky and South Carolina. I mean, that's just keeping it real. That's just keeping it real. I didn't even mean to get on a rant in this video. I just wanted to talk about Georgia and my boy Stetson Bennett and Jermaine Burton and Jalen Kimber and, Karis Jackson coming back and Nolan Smith coming back and Eric Gilbert reportedly back with the team. We'll see there. Anyway, man, like every day, today is a great day to be a dog. Have a good morning.